A very good evening to one and all, and a warm welcome to the In-Service Skills Enhancement Program presented by Vidyadaan Foundation. On behalf of Team Vidyadan, I, Shweta Batra, wish you all a very happy Diwali and a prosperous New Year. I begin by introducing the organization to my viewers. Vidyadan is a transformative non-profit organization which is dedicated to empowering underprivileged children, youth, and women through the power of education. With an unwavering commitment to fostering a bright future, Vidyadan is at the forefront of providing high quality education in India, thereby enabling disadvantaged children to unlock their potential. To enhance the quality of education, it also conducts teacher training programs. And to remain at the forefront of education sector, it is crucial for educators to stay updated with the latest advancements. Additionally, as a policy requirement, every education professional must engage in 50 hours of continuous professional development annually. The In-Service Skills Enhancement Program represents a significant initiative to fulfill this requirement. We are pleased to have trained over and over 15,000 teachers across India and are committed to extending this opportunity to educators from the CBSE, ICSE, and state board schools. The ISEP is a capacity building program which is designed to enhance teaching skills, provide updates on the latest educational trends, and equip educators with the essential tools needed to excel in their roles. The sessions are both engaging and informative, delivered by industry experts. We have a session every Saturday from 5 to 6. The point to be noted is that educators who successfully attend the program will be receiving e-certificates which states that they have completed 1 hour of training. I'll briefly inform you to the process here. After the presentation by the speaker, we will be sharing a questionnaire that is through a link that will be based on today's content. The person who scores 7 and above is eligible for the e-certificate. In case you are wanting the e-certificate, you have to pay a small fee of ₹100 and you will receive the certificate via WhatsApp within 7 working days. Another important point to be noted is that you have to fill the link before you leave the meeting. Coming back to the session, our expert today is Dr. Vasavvi Acharjya. Madam is an early childhood expert and the founder chairperson of Early Childhood Development Forum, an NGO with global presence, and is also the founder president of Tender Petals preschool chain. Vasavvi has been successfully spearheading global education conferences and edu-tours in India and abroad to promote best practices of early childcare and education. Madam's NGO supports children from marginalized sections of society through its events in India and abroad. Dr. Vasavvi is a TEDx speaker and also the ex-faculty of Tata Institute of Social Sciences, that is TIS. A warm welcome to you, Madam. The topic that she'll be taking, Madam, is taking today is 21st century skills. Another point to be noted is the viewers is that in case you have any important questions, relevant questions pertaining to today's topic, you can put the questions in the YouTube chat. We shall take them if time permits. With this, it's over to you, Madam. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Shweta Batra, for introducing me and for inviting me for this very wonderful platform that is working towards empowering and building the capacity of educators all around, all over. And today I'm very happy to present on my topic, which I have selected for today's course, and this is building 21st century skills through a peace pedagogy. So I've been working in the domain of early childhood education for the past 25 years. And during these years, I've seen a lot of change happening because children of today are very different from what they used to be. A couple of years back, they're more advanced, they are more pro technology, they are more into the screen. And at the same time, we see that there are a lot of skills that need to be developed during these early years because these skills later form the bedrock of the child's future success and happiness. And the 21st century skills, when I talk about it, it is those skills that every child needs in order to lead a life which is uh, fulfilling, maybe more successful, is able to achieve what they want in their lives. And what best than incorporating or inculcating these skills into them in these very formative years, because as we all know, the 0 to 8 years are the most crucial years of a child's or human being's life, because at that time the brain architecture forms, and that is when children are like wet cement. Whatever falls on them makes an impression, a very relevant saying. And that is why I feel, and I'm very close to the sector that I work in. I've been working here for 25 years, and still I love the time I spend with children, the questions they ask, the inquisitiveness and the initiative that they show. And that's all very heartwarming, and it's always a pleasure to work with children. So let me go ahead with my course. I'll be sharing. I was almost sharing the screen, but there has been a glitch. Yes. So what I'll be covering in today's course is basically what is peace, and why use peace pedagogy in early childhood education, the 21st century skills and peace curriculum, benefits of a peace pedagogy for 21st century skill development, so how it benefits, and then a peace enabling setup and environment, how we can create that kind of an environment for the child in the school or at home. So when we talk about peace, we think about two things. What is peace is the first thing, and then maybe what are the sources of peace. So when we talk about peace, it's not just the absence of war, but a set of attitudes and attributes that promote human values, freedom, equality, justice, and so forth. So peace is, when we think that we are in a peaceful atmosphere or an environment, we think about there's no war, or there's no uh, any kind of civil unrest. But at the same time, it also means we live in an atmosphere which is more um, peace. It ensures more peace. It is peace enabling. It is without any kind of dissension between individuals, anxiety, disturbances, external disturbances or interference, and so forth. So it's basically an atmosphere which is tranquil, an atmosphere which allows you to think. Because if one is able to think peacefully and think in a more in a more congenial environment, they are able to take good decisions. They are able to think critically. They are able to solve problems. Again, when we talk about these are the 21st century skills we are talking about. So when I talk about peace, if I personify it, if peace was a human being who walked the earth, for me, he would be or she would be a patient listener and a proactive problem solver, an empathetic human being, for A, with an aware and altruistic mindset, who is calm, collaborative, communicative, and ethical. Now, coming to the sources of peace. When we talk about peace, what is peace basically in our environment or within us? So there are three sources of peace. One is peace, inner peace, which is peace of mind or peace with self. It is a state of harmony and peace with oneself, and is associated with accepting oneself, being loving and compassionate, forgiving, having positive self-esteem, accepting differences, joyful, happy, contented, and blissful. So it's the inner peace, that is very uh, uh, opposite to that of fear or anxiousness or anxiety or stress. And then the second source of peace is peace in social life, which is learning to live together. in collaboration. When we talk about, when the word collaboration comes, that is again a 21st century skill. The living in collaboration, peace between human beings, negotiation, conflict resolution, unity, friendship, universal brotherhood, humanism, love, acceptance, empathy for others, compassion, putting yourself in other people's shoes, and being able to coexist peacefully in an environment. That is peace in social life. And third comes peace with environment. That implies stopping the violation of nature by creating environmental hazards and causing action that impact the environment negatively. It refers to harmony with nature, environment, and the earth. To love nature, to conserve nature, to be a part of nature. Because when we talk about, who our teachers, first parents are our teachers, then comes our teachers who are our teachers, and the third teacher of our life is environment, nature. We need to be in peace with nature in order to have, or in order to experience peace. So now, why use peace pedagogy in early childhood? When we talk about the 21st century skills, which I'll be gradually, collating peace pedagogy and the 21st century skills. But essentially, we need to understand why peace. Because see, peace is a word. When we are in an early childhood environment or in a classroom or maybe in a school, we never talk about peace. We just talk about, studies. We talk about what has the child learned. Has the child completed this syllabus or that? Or is he able to do this bit? But we generally don't bring up the word peace because it sounds more like, something which is for the adults. It's like something which is the uh, conflict resolution, or, that's mostly a subject of the teenagers or the adolescents. And when they grow higher, into adults. But in early childhood education, we can see that peace pedagogy plays a very important role. So before we move on to that, I'm talking about a few of the 21st century skills which are very relevant in the early childhood years. Though there are many 21st century skills, I'm talking about these 8 very core skills, which are collaboration, communication, critical thinking, creativity, problem solving, social skills, global awareness, and leadership. So today we will be talking about the peace pedagogy around these 21st century skills. So what happens in the early childhood years? Now, when we talk about why a peace pedagogy in early childhood years. So in early childhood, the brain architecture is developing most rapidly. And this is the time when, habits are formed and children learn different, emotions. They learn to understand each other. They learn to understand themselves. They learn to understand the environment, to interact. So in these years, a child's mind is actually in the formative years. So I would like to, refer to a few of the educationists who has said very important things about uh, how to develop an approach or a mindset which is peace conducive. So when we talk about the early childhood brain architecture, it is just developing in those years. So what happens? Habits are formed, differences are recognized, and emotional ties are built through social relationships and day-to-day interactions in homes and in neighborhood. And yes, after they go to school, in the schools. As Stacey M. Alfonso describes it in her article, Peace Education in Early Childhood Years, she says early childhood is a time when a child is laying the foundation for future development, capabilities across all domains. The interplay of language, cognition, social emotional capacities, and physical abilities come into use more frequently and purposefully. As children develop language, they use it to convey their needs and wants, means communication, express their emotions, and verbally solve conflict. As children's cognition ability allows them to see a distinction between themselves and others, they use their new social skills to test out friendship making capabilities. Again, a 21st century skills, collaboration. Because of these great steps in development, early childhood becomes a crucial time for developing the skills and capacities necessary for peacemaking, peacekeeping, and peace building. Emotional regulation, critical thinking, and behavior regulation are the core skills social skills of peace building all develop in early, that should be developed in early childhood. And children learn when they are in a setup which is a peace enabling setup. So when we talk about these early childhood years, we know how important these are. Again, if we talk about the intelligence and social skills, they are developing in these crucial years of a child's life. And these skills are again essential for them for future life success. So now we are coming to understand what is a chaotic versus a peaceful mindset. So when we talk about what happens to a child when they come out of the comfort zone, or when they are just, when they're very small and they're not able to express, or they're not able to actually talk or tell what they want, or they are just in a stage when they're developing language, or they have just stepped into a school, preschool, and they are like really confused about why there is a change in the environment. Why are the parents not there? So these are basically the stressors for little ones. So when we talk about the stressors, triggers and the stressors, they are essentially when one leaves a comfort zone. Even as an adult, if I'm used to certain kind of things and then suddenly there's a change in my schedule or my plan, or there's something that is upsetting, we feel very agitated, we feel very anxious, and sometimes, in that agitation we may take some wrong decisions, or talk to somebody in such a way that a relationship ends. So leaving one's comfort zone is very difficult. And it is more so for children, because at that time they're just learning. They are into this new world where they are exploring, they're learning new things. They're just trying to understand the emotions. They're just trying to understand how they're feeling in that new environment or a new thing. So what are the triggers and stressors? Some of them I have noted are leave one's comfort zone, face new people. So when we see that children, they come across with strangers, they're not able to suddenly talk, or they're not able to become friendly, or they're not able to say hi. But when they, I'll move on to that, the emotional self-regulation and the socio-emotional skills and all of it, how it enables a child to be open to new conversation, to collaboration, to communication. So that is when we are able to, overcome these triggers and stressors, adapt to a new environment. So we are living in one kind of a situation, which I know, which is very predictable. And suddenly I'm exposed to another place, another home, another land. And how flexible we are in adapting to the new environment, inability to understand one's feeling. So I feel sad, but I don't understand why I'm feeling sad, or what is the emotion that I'm feeling. So I get, stressed, I get confused. And that confusion, that kind of takes away the peace. And again, when we talk about the 21st century skills of problem solving, now in a confused state of mind, we are not able to solve any problem. Fear of the unknown, inability to express oneself, which is very common for children in the early childhood years, because they do not develop language fully, and they are like, they are half vocal and half verbal, and half they are giving expressions. So they're not, so they feel very kind of, they are like, they feel insecure in those kind of situations, not able to meet the expectations of people around. So what we tell our little ones, do this, do that, please show, please tell a rhyme in front of your aunt or something. And when they are not able to do it, they feel they feel that, the anxiety or the fear of not being able to live up to their parents or their teachers' expectations. Competition and comparison, that is another very big trigger. So when we talk about the 21st century skills, I talk about leadership. So leadership is never comparison or competition. Leadership is about developing one's skills and enabling and giving an environment to the child to be able to express and be able to, perform what they in their best ability, so that they develop leadership skills. But it should not do anything with competition and comparison. Feeling challenged and overwhelmed, feeling of being lost. Many times, we see that children, when they come to a new school or an environment, or maybe they're visiting their neighbors, any new environment, they kind of feel lost. They do not know, they do not understand. And that again creates a lot of stress in them, trauma. There are a lot of situations where children find and feel, that trauma in their lives. It can be death of somebody very close. It can be some incident that has happened. It can be a burglary in the house, anything that brings them trauma. And that actually kind of clouds their mind in being able to think, because these are triggers and stressors. And when we feel that stress, when even as an adult, we feel a stress, if I have to deliver something, I have to go, on stage and tell something, and I'm not prepared, I kind of feel stressed. And what happens at that time? So when we talk about that, let me go to a bit on the neuroscience bit of it, and also about our stress reaction and the system. So the brain, what happens? Whatever is the feeling that comes from the brain, because when we see, all our sense organs senses what is happening in our environment. So suddenly I sense fear, I sense anxiety or fear or some kind of threat. And what happens in the mind? So before we go to what happens in our mind, the brain basically, I would like to talk a little bit about how the brain is made of. We have the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, the temporal lobe, and the occipital lobe. And the frontal lobe of our brain is the part that extends from the forehead, and it goes to the back of the brain and back till here. And this covers the maximum part of our brain. And that is basically the portion that is in charge of our decision making, the social emotional reactions, our decision making, self control, our emotional regulation. Then it also is in charge of our cognitive abilities like maintaining concentration, alert, high level of thinking, problem solving, planning, judgment, conversation. And also, it is in charge of some of the voluntary movements like expressive language, managing high level executive functions, self monitoring, controlling one's responses. So the frontal lobe is in charge of that. But at the same time, when we get stressed, we have this small two almond shape, part of the brain, which is at the back of the brain, which is just above where our neck starts. And that is the amygdala. So, what happens when we feel fear or when we see a threat in the surrounding? That's also called the reptilian brain or the reptilian mind. It kind of takes over. So, what happens when we suddenly sense fear? If we see that something may be threatening to us or to our somebody said something badly to me, and it is kind of threatening to my self-esteem, or any other kind of response. If somebody's taken my toy, I'm playing with a toy very happily, and he's taken it. So at that point of time, this is a limbic system, the amygdala, and they kind of release the stress hormone. And here I have in this slide, I've talked about this flight fright system. So that is the amygdala hijack that happens. Amygdala somehow takes charge of the frontal lobe of the brain, that is the cortex. So it takes charge of the cortex, and our thinking mind stops. And we kind of take a flight, fright, or freeze, uh, you know, uh, kind of a stance, meaning we do not think, we do not uh, respond, but we react to the situation because there's a hijack of the frontal lobe and the amygdala has taken over. The stress is unbearable, and we either respond by fighting, we respond by fleeing, or we respond by just being, uh, freezing in that moment. And this kind of, somehow amygdala controls the frontal lobes and take control of all the emotions, the thinking mind. And then we act abruptly. It is called reaction, and we don't respond. Now, when we talk about the 21st century skills, we need to think creatively, we need to think critically, we need to solve problems. So we need our thinking mind to be working. And for that, we need lot of emotional self-regulation. So how do we go about, making our child, making every little child understand how to regulate one's emotions? So first, the child needs to be taught to understand and label his or her feeling. So when the child is able to label his or her feeling, they are able to express, they are able to talk about, how am I feeling? Because they may be feeling sad, they may be feeling helpless. So they feel that, okay, I'm feeling sad. And it is the adult who would make the child realize that the child is feeling sad because her toy is being taken away by someone else. And when they are in charge or they understand their feeling, they are able to get in charge of that feeling, and they are able to go around it and deal with it. Otherwise, the child might just react, and the child may just react to that feeling, or she may have, or he may have some responses which are physical, like the child is getting very angry, the face has turned red, and the child is crying or is unable to cry, but the feeling is pent up, and there's a lot of stress that can affect the child's mind and the health. So here the child needs to understand and label his or her feeling, learn to regulate feelings. Now, how will the child learn to regulate feeling? Through mindfulness. So mindfulness is basically it's about allowing the children to understand what is going around them without judging, just to feel it, being in the present, and then see the response. If a child is feeling very agitated and the child is told by the teacher that you do simple breathing in, deep breaths in and breath out, breathe in and breathe out, the child's feelings will be regulated. After understanding one's feeling, they'll be able to kind of take that feeling to another level of more calm, more peace, and then they take charge of that situation without reacting. So, in today's world, we have seen a lot of chaos because of the screen, because of the exposure to too many things. So, we have seen that mindfulness is lacking, focus and concentration, or the living in the present is actually kind of absent in our children. They are more into something which is on the screen, or something that would happen, or something that has happened, but they are not mindful about the present. And this is very important for emotional self regulation in order to understand how they're feeling. So sometimes when we say, our grandparents, our people around us, our elders used to tell us, when you sit to eat, pray. That is not about a religion. It is about, or sometimes they say that, thank God for, allowing you, giving you that food in front. So it is not about a religious thing. It is about bringing your mind's focus and concentration to the food that we are going to eat, and that which is going to give us nutrition. That is mindfulness. So coming from something else that we are thinking to the food, where we will be dedicating our next 15-20 minutes to that food which is going to give nutrition to our body, is very important. So this is how, when we are mindful, we are able to regulate our feelings. And it for children, this mindfulness can be practiced in the school. I will be talking about the indoor and the outdoor settings, where we would be talking about the peace zone, the peace realm of this pedagogy that I have developed. And there we can, I'll be giving you examples of how you can develop these mindfulness of child, the feeling of the practice of mindfulness, so that the child is able to self regulate and deal with one's feelings and respond and not react, and keep a positive attitude. So emotional self-regulation, as it is very evident, is a part of our 21st century skills that we are talking about. And when a child is emotionally self-regulated, what is the outcome? Emotional intelligence is the outcome. The child is a problem solver. Again, 21st century skill that we are talking about. A good decision maker. the child is resilient, and most importantly, the child is peaceful and kind. Very truly said by Maria Montessori, the child is both hope and promise for mankind. A child who imbibes core values such as empathy, compassion, justice, honesty, kindness, mutual trust, gratitude, generosity, and so forth will grow up to become an individual who inspires hope in others. That is, again, a leadership skill. Now let us move forward to benefits of a peace pedagogy in early childhood years to develop 21st century skills. So first benefit is the child learns an alternative to aggression and violence. So when we are talking about the 21st century skill, we talk about conflict resolution, we talk about collaboration, communication, negotiation. Um, you know, putting it on the table and trying to negotiate instead of building up aggression and violence. So when a child is in charge, when a child is in charge of his or her emotion, the child is able to judge or understand the trigger. And when they understand the trigger, they can take an alternative to aggression and violence, and they can solve any problem by thinking more positively, creatively, and solving the problem and coming to a good decision, for both the children if the child is dealing with someone else. Again, if we look at the benefits, the child is able to recognize and express feelings and engage in peaceful mitigation, identify needs. So the child is able to recognize and express one's feelings. So I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling very happy today. So I can recognize and identify my feelings and then accordingly respond to them and come to a peaceful mitigation. Or I can, instead of going and like the aggression and the violence I talked about, instead of going and upfront confronting the person, I'm able to look from the person's point of view, putting myself in other people's shoes and come to a logical, good, decision by solving the problem. Communication, listening, taking turns, separate facts from emotions, shared decision making, analyzing, critical thinking. These are the benefits, of uh, being able to, regulate your emotions. Learn skills like identifying biases and managing anger. So there are a lot of biases. We in our environment, there are a lot of things which are not probably, very the way we want it to be. But we cannot change. All we can change is our mindset. And with a positive mindset, we can manage. With a positive, even in the negative, if our mindset is positive, we can manage. We can try, we can find a solution. So that is again very important. Enhance self-esteem, overcome negative feelings towards others. So far, we have talked about a lot about how the emotional self-regulation works in order to be able to develop the 21st century skills. And at the same time, I also told about the different triggers and stressors, a few of them, because everybody's stressors, everybody's triggers are different. So I just, overall took a few of them to explain what happens to our brain, the amygdala, the frontal lobe, and how we kind of, suddenly react and then later may regret our decision, may regret why did we say this to my friend? Why did we spoil the relationship? Why did I break my team? So that again, we talked about that, and we talked about the different forms of peace, because essentially I'm talking about a peace pedagogy, which is helpful in developing the 21st century skills in children during the early childhood years. And how the peace within myself can go out to my social surroundings and towards environment. So in the beginning, inner peace is so important. And once I'm in peace and in love with myself, I can extend that love to all my fellow human beings and all fellow species that lives on this earth. Now coming to the 21st century skills and peace curriculum. Now I would be talking about, we have already talked about these aspects, but how we can promote, how we can incorporate all of this into the child. What are the practices we need to do? I touched a little bit on mindfulness, but what are the other things that we can do? So again, coming back once again to our 21st century skills that today I'm essentially talking on: collaboration, communication, critical thinking, creativity, problem solving, social skills, global awareness, and leadership. Now coming to the strategies to build up a peace enabling curriculum. Right. So now educators, today I'm addressing educators who are interested in this subject of building up 21st century skills. So you have joined me today for this course. And again, I thank you all for being a part of it. Um, See, educators, we need to develop a mindset. We need to develop the indoors, the outdoor settings, something which is very peace enabling. And for it, this is what I would be talking about. And let me tell you about the settings. So first we'll talk about the outdoor settings. So when we talk about peace, what do we look at? In the environment, we look at nature. We look at, some greenery. Don't we feel peaceful and calm? Uh, I think my grandmom told me when I was little that if you look at very vast expanse of greenery, you feel that calm. Your mind kind of, is able to think in a more uh, uh, in a more peaceful manner, in an unchaotic way. If there is a confusion, look at vast expanse of greenery. So when we talk about the peaceful design and the outdoors of it, I would highly recommend greenery in your area. It can be pot plants, it can be, an environment which is nature positive, where children are taught to conserve nature, depending on how much space you have in the school, small shrubs, tubs, pots, trees, all of that, that enables a child to see the flowers, vegetables grow, a small farm. All of that is very positive in, building up a peace enabling setup and a mindset. And the children are encouraged to nurture or to water or to take care of their own pet plants, the pot plants that they have and their pets. So coming to the second aspect is pets. So a school can have, a small, when we went for our education tour to Thailand, that was last year in November, we visited 3 schools and we saw every school had pets. And why so? Because when a child is able to, you know, um, take the responsibility or understand their responsibility towards pets, to love them, not to harm them, it is very important. And also, children bond a lot with pets, so they learn a lot from, being able to be near pets like rabbits. You can have rabbits, you can have tortoise, turtles. So different kind of pets can be in the school to enable children to, love and care, develop the sense of love and care and responsibility for them. Also, in our tender centers, we have these bird feeders, the water trays for the birds. And we see a lot of birds come in the morning, and that instills that love for, nature, for animals. And we also build a lot of these, we did this waste management and basically recycle. And we used some of those plastic bottles to make bird feeders, which have been hung from the trees of our schools. And we see in the morning that the birds come and the children feel a sense of joy that This is a bird feeder I made, and look, so many birds are coming and feeding from that. And it is, something which is very positive, nature positive. And children's play items should be very child friendly. Even the outdoor items that are kept, they should be taught my turns. They should be taught value and ethics during playtime, peer skills, empathy, anger management, and how to be gentle, loving, and mindful. So, this is the outdoor environment that is very congenial to build up a peace enabling setup. And coming to the indoor environment, uh, I would like to talk about first, the materials that we use in our classroom. Are they helpful? Are they helpful in promoting agency and community building within the classroom? Are the children able to touch, feel, and use those materials that are kept for them? Are they able to interact with those materials? How have the teacher chosen those materials for the children? Is it something which is not pro peace, something which is like a gun, keeping a small gun in the school, which is a thing of aggression? So what are the materials that we are taking? Things like feathers, pebbles, beautiful things that can be kept, for the child to use and to feel that, nature connect, at the same time able to use it for cognitive language development, for expression, for role play. So indoors can also have a peace region. So in our tender petals, we have a peace region in the class, or a room separately for that, where we have elements like mirror, a small table, chair, bean bag, something that is relaxing, pot plant, battery operated candles, something that is soothing, incense, pinwheels, mandalas, play doh, worry dolls, where the child can express the feeling, soft pillows, a peace symbol, dove toy. So what happens? It helps in emotional self-regulation, because a child, when he or she comes into the school, um, it's for the first time, they're out of the comfort zone, they are not happy, they are like they want to go back home, and they might feel agitated, traumatic. There are different kind of emotions that the child brings along with them from their home environment, from the neighborhood, from maybe they pick it up in the school environment also, when they're having a fight with somebody, or when they're having some kind of discord with a friend. So at that point, if they are removed from that conflict area, or from that, you know so, where they have feeling that unrest, into a peace region, they can very well, beautifully, they can be soft toys to which they talk, to which they say, they can engage, share feelings, talk their problems. These kind of peace region is very important to be set up. Soft music, which is a part of our schools, I would say, the soft music, when the child walks into the environment, it is very, very peaceful. Now, if you are, when you are agitated, what do you like to do? Maybe, do everybody has different ways of busting or taking out your agitation. But music is one of the core elements of uh, soothing your mind. And the color tones. So in a classroom, use color tones that are very, very soothing to the child's mind, which enables the child to feel more at peace. Instead of using deep red and very stark colors, use very mild pastel colors in the walls of the classroom. Light, very pastel green, very pastel yellow, so that the child feels a sense of peace when they look around, and off-white, and all of those things. There can be a library, in the indoors, where there are books which talk about positive self affirmations, personal awareness, loving animals, good behavior, communication with people around, um, and also the indoors should have child friendly furnitures, which do not have sharp edges, which are, where the children can freely sit or use a mat, all kind of those bean bags. And so these kind of things actually kind of make the environment very peaceful and soothing. Now coming to the school climate. Now see, we kind of made a very beautiful indoor and an outdoor environment. But what makes the environment alive? The people in that environment, our educators, the ayahs, the nannies who are helping the children, the school administration, maybe the center head or the principal of the school. So there, I would say you should declare your classroom a peace realm where bullying or other such behaviors are not tolerated. Children need to understand that these ground rules right from the start. Some of the guiding principles in creating a peaceful classroom climate is when you have the core values of truthfulness, respect, cooperation, dignity, equality, liberty, justice, security, ability to express oneself. So, this should be a peace realm, a conflict resolution zone. So, what happens when there's a conflict? When there's a conflict between two children, when there's a conflict between the teacher and the child is saying something, the teacher is saying something. Two children, in one corner are, having a small kind of argument or something which is not good. So you should always enable them to think about how we can solve this problem, how we can solve this conflict, right? So it's very important to reflect on our response to this conflict, how we can, the teacher should always be the mediator. They should always try to, ask the child, what has happened? Why has it happened? And how would you solve it? Instead of, fighting, or instead of, being after each other, how can you solve this? So this conflict resolution zone, a peace zone, is very important for building up a peace environment, which is again a 21st century skill development zone. Because when we are talking about conflict resolution and solving problems, again, those are 21st century skills that we're talking about. Family involvement. The family needs to be involved because children in the early childhood years, they come from the family, which is, for them, which is their core, the core of their world. So when they see that the family is a part of the school, they are a part of that learning process of the child feels more comfortable. The child feels less anxious, less fearful, and the child feels that my family is included, I am included into this environment. And that is what is able to build their self-esteem, their confidence, their ability to, um, you know, build up new relationships, their ability to be more flexible to a new environment, to come out of their comfort zone, to be able to kind of, mingle with the others. So family involvement for the school is very important, and plan those PIPs, the parent involvement programs, where parents come as volunteers. They are a part of the child's learning process. They come as storytellers, as a yoga teacher or something, and they are a part of the child's learning process, which is very important. And when we talk about a curriculum, I would talk about the mindfulness practices, which I already told you, the worry dolls. There can be a lot of things like slow breathing when the child is agitated. And these practices should come in small capsules for children, because children, they are not able to concentrate for too long. It is like when we meditate, children cannot meditate. We would not recommend. But when they are eating something very mindfully, when they are observing a plant very mindfully, or they are observing the surrounding, what is in this room, what is there, how many things are on this table or the rack. So it is about developing mindfulness. If they are made to stand in the child yoga poses, where they have to balance themselves, that is also developing mindfulness and focus. So there are a lot of exercises that can build mindfulness. And I always talk about mindfulness in a way that when we first started, it is like a curriculum practice. Like, okay, today we will practice a few mindfulness things. But then once we keep practicing, it becomes a part of our life. Like yoga slowly becomes a part of our life. Mindfulness also is a way of life. It is not something which is a practice for this moment, and then we kind of go of it after we are done. No, we need to be mindful at every time, every moment. Visual art for children, visual art is very important. They kind of, they are able to express their feelings, their joy, their anger, their frustration through different forms of visual art. through different forms of performing art like dance, drama, music, where their energy comes, releases, where they are able to build up teams, where they're able to collaborate, where they're able to show their leadership skills, where they're able to show their talents, they're able to play music and take out, their the the pent up feelings that they have. It helps them in emotional self regulation. Storytelling, peace stories, stories that make children reflect that why an alternative to anger, to aggression, to fight is always better, an alternative, something which is more peaceful. So these storytelling sessions can be very, peace enabling. It can be about helping a child to understand or to take decisions which are for the betterment of their betterment or for the betterment of humanity. So these kind of stories need to be reflected upon. They need to be told to children, and the children also need to can reenact or act out those stories, and that can actually inculcate into a child's mind very easily, because storytelling is a great tool to kind of take your message across. And nature connection, I've already talked about nature. So when we look at these exercises, we can see the very first picture where the child is hugging the tree. So we got these trees painted in one of our centers, which is in the rural area of Assam, which is in Tamulpur. And the child, during one of the play sessions, the child was outside and said, "Oh, I so love this tree," and he hugged the tree. So that feeling of loving the tree while the child was playing, how did it come? Because the child is very close to nature. So this is again, something which is uh, so positive when we look at it. Secondly, there's a storytelling session where we are talking about that was a story. The second and third pictures were about storytelling, where different stories which are peace conducive are told to children. There are art and craft sessions where children are trying to express what they feel through painting, through drawing, through crafts. And then there is love for nature. Again, the animals are being fed. There's this goat who regularly comes to the school, and children feed them. There is this on there's a festival event celebration which is a Rakhi Bandhan, and that is basically the global awareness about tolerance, awareness about loving each other, awareness about accepting each other in spite of our differences, the harmony. Again, there's this festival celebration, which is a traditional festival. It is called Bihu, and how the other cultures, they understand what Bihu is. And, we are rooted. At the same time, we are tolerant to other people's beliefs, to other people's religion, to other people's cultures, and we accept them very heartily. There are these planting activities and so many activities that we do with children, which is done in a very, uh, um, uh, in a in a very democratic manner, taking out any kind of biases, taking out any kind of hierarchies that the teacher knows and you don't know, nothing like that. Children are a part of the decision-making process. They know that they can be a part of their activities decision making process. So when we come to this, the role of a peace facilitator while they are developing the 21st century skills, first of all, the peace educator should reflect on their own potential biases and practices that cultivate inequalities in the classroom. So they need to stay mindful and calm. They need to understand if they have a bias, because what we preach is we need to practice that, or what we practice is what we preach. So if we are talking to a child that children always be friendly to each other, but we are biased, that gives a different kind of a message. Educators must question the hierarchical student teacher relationship and consider how their teaching methodology provides opportunities for agency, critical thinking, decision making, and community building. They should encourage children to engage as active participants in their classroom and their preschool community in order to develop the skills to be active citizens of their world. They should engage in decision making, feel a sense of ownership in the community, and be recognized as competent and useful partners in educational experiences. Like I said, children should be a part of the process of their learning process. Early childhood educators should look at children not merely as rote learners, but as researchers who initiate their own learning from environment, acknowledge their core competencies, recognize the importance of the voice of others, and promote and values of peace through curriculum and daily practices. So the children should be able to live in a very democratic environment. An educator may choose the classroom materials or reflect upon materials that are already available in classroom through following the questions like, whether these materials are useful for the students, whether we should be able to, whether these will enable the child to develop the skills that we are looking at, the outcomes that we are aiming towards. As peace educators, it is important to focus on the exchange of knowledge between student and teacher as a tool for collaboration and connection. This conception of the student-teacher relationship influences the curriculum content and pedagogical practices because it recognizes the children's expertise and life experiences which guide them in their training. So we work as co-researchers. Practicing self-care can be the best interest of everyone in a classroom. Now the teachers need to actually take care of themselves because, like I said, if I have inner peace, if I have joy, then I would be able to spread that joy in the classroom, spread that joy in my house, spread the joy in an environment. So teachers need to take their self-care very, very seriously. And they need to actually, kind of take care of themselves, take care of their mental health, take care of, what are their needs, the little things that they want to do. And they need to kind of, pamper themselves from time to time. Because if I am happy, if internally I'm peaceful, I'm able to express that. And what happens is a child never listens to what you say. They actually look at what you do. So your actions are teaching the child. They are basically following your actions, your mindset, your moods. And so it is very important to model the right kind of behavior in front of children. So today, if I'm in an agitated state of mind, I'm not mindful, I'm jittery, I'm fearful, I'm anxious. And I tell the child, no, children, you have to be very, very peaceful. They would not be. So it is very important to model that kind of behavior, the kind of peace, the kind of, calm in and around us in order to build that up, in order for the children to think, to be able to think clearly, to be able to think critically, to solve the problems, to make decisions. And like the SDG Goal 16 that talks about peace, justice, and strong institutions. I feel that this is very important in development of the 21st century skills in children. We nowadays talk about MUN, the Model United Nations, that talks about conflict resolution. It is about so many things that is, where children come, the teenagers, they come and they try to solve a conflict. But why not do this from the early childhood years? Why not incorporate these things in the young minds which are just budding, the minds that need peace, the minds that are able to relate, that are able to take care of their own emotions, that are able to understand and feel for others? Why not from the early childhood years? So the goal, SDG goal number 16, it talks about promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. So I think I have covered what I wanted to do today. And I would end with one of my thoughts, that is, the greatest goal of humanity should be to live and let live. Peaceful humans strive towards creating an ecosystem that supports a sustainable life and respects every living being. And we, as people working in the domain of early childhood education, can be the best contributors towards shaping such a generation by guiding the little people in the right direction. So I have come to a close of this course that I was invited to deliver today. You can reach me at Vasavvi2005 at yahoo.com with any questions. And now I would be giving about 2 to 3 minutes for any of our viewers who would like to post any question so that I can answer that. And I would stop sharing my screen and wait for you to respond. And you can reach me at 98640 That is my number.
Thank you, Dr. Vasavvi, for this very insightful session. I think through this session, you have beautifully encapsulated the development of age-appropriate, hand-picked, essential 21st century skills through peace approach. And I think more of peace is less of violence, which is I think the greater good that we are all looking at. That's a wonderful session, and I think we are getting very, very positive feedback. And of course, there are no questions as of now. But thank you for this very informative, very systematically put forward in a very simple manner and easy to apply scenarios. So thank you so much for your time and your insights. I request the viewers to fill the Google link before they leave this session. And yes, looking in case there is any delay, I think you all have already got the message that the delay is happening of receiving certificates. The delay is happening due to the Diwali vacations. But rest assured, you shall receive them by Monday. And so also for this session, you should receive by next Monday. In case you don't happen to receive, we request you to, within 7 working days, we request you to mail us at vidyadaantrainings@gmail.com. Mention your name, school name, topic, and also the date of the session for a timely response. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Vasavvi, once again.
Thank you so much for having me. And I hope this session was helpful to all the educators who's watched us today. And yeah, I feel that we need to develop these skills, the attitudes in these children from early on, because we are looking at a different kind of a generation who are more empathetic, more compassionate in the next 20 years, because we left some of this piece far behind, but we need to incorporate that and inculcate that in the coming generations.
I'm sure with people working all hands-on with things like this and people like you having the team force with you and you bringing forward these messages so strongly, I'm sure we are looking at a very positive side of life. With this note, we end today. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Team Vidyadan. God bless. Take care.